Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to this presentation. My name is Eric Tang, and I'm the co-founder and CTO at Livesphere. Livesphere's mission is to build the world's open video infrastructure, and I'm going to tell you all about what that means and how that relates to what you do. So the first thing I want to talk about is openness, how that relates to Web3, right? You probably have heard of what Web3 is, or at least heard of Web3 in the general media. So when I talk about Web3, I talk about it from the sense of how this is a continuation from the revolution for technology from Web 1 to Web 2. So think of Web 1 as the creation of existing internet protocols, TCP/IP, HTTP, these protocols that allowed us to connect the computers together into a single network. And Web 2 represents kind of this creation of services on top of that. And those are the platforms that we see today. One of the things that we found that was interesting is that Web 1 protocols don't really have this ability to create and accumulate value. As a result, Web 2 services took that opportunity, right? So we have these companies that popped up and gathered a lot of values around these organizations. And now, this new wave of technology and Web3 is really about creating open and decentralized infrastructure that also has the ability to align in value and kind of decentralize some of these current centralized services. So from that, let me tell you a little bit about the brief history of Livesphere. We're a project that started back in 2017, where we started building an open protocol. In 2018 is when we launched the network in the alpha stage. Took a couple years for us to be heads down doing research. In 2020, we launched a streaming API service to serve as a gateway to bring demand to the Livesphere network. In 2021, we made an acquisition of a media server called Mist Server, and in this year, we're launching a new product called Livesphere Catalyst, where I will tell you all about it. Everything that we do is completely open source and decentralized, and we're building a tool, and our mission is to make video streaming more and more accessible for everyone who wants to build. So let's take a look, double click into this open video infrastructure and talk about what that is and why this is interesting. To introduce this concept, think about the open video infrastructure as this thing that's always running and it's elastically increasing and decreasing in demand, in supply based on the demand of this network. Think of it as almost like an alternative to a streaming cloud. Right, it's decentralized with marketplace dynamics, which means people get paid to contribute to the network, and because of that, there's a marketplace in play to be able to grow and shrink according to the demand on the network. It's created through a number of modularized open source software that creates this whole infrastructure, but at the same time, each of these modules can also be used independently or separately by anyone who wants to use open source software. And finally, it's integrated using the blockchain to create this settlement layer and incentive alignment layer, and also create these new capabilities for video services, which I'll get into a little bit later, related to kind of Web3 and how these Web3 video services are different from today's video services that we might all know of. So how does this, what does this elastic streaming cloud actually do, right? So in a sense, it does what we expect it to do from today's video infrastructure, right? It does live streaming, it does video on demand streaming, it has global ingest and playback services, supports many video streaming protocols, all the ones that we can think of. But it comes with some interesting benefits. For example, it has a 10x lower operational cost because it's a decentralized decentralized cloud, and it allows people to bring kind of access capacity to the network. It's fault tolerant because the system kind of assumes any node can go offline at any point, and there's enough robustness built into the software itself. We talked about the elasticity of its growing and shrinking capacity. It also has a peer-to-peer enhanced video delivery capability, which we've been working on, and that's really exciting. And finally, it's also compatible to all the components that we would want to use today in a centralized way. So for example, you can transcode a piece of video and put it into an existing object store if you wanted to. Digging into a little bit about the decentralized marketplace dynamic and why this is interesting, right? We might have heard of Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? These systems that allow anyone to join the network and participate and actually be a miner. In a similar way, the Livesphere protocol allows anyone to participate and become a transcoding node on the network. And these start out as kind of hobbyists at home, maybe have a couple of gaming machines, but soon, very quickly, it grows into like a professionalized business, right? With data center providers actually running these infrastructure at scale because it's a revenue generating opportunity. At the same time, it's also a two-sided marketplace for video transcoding. So people who have video and want to get it transcoded come to this network through the protocol, get to work with anybody else who's providing the capacity. It uses token economics to prevent fraud, and we'll get into that a little later. And finally, it uses micropayments on the blockchain for scalable network formation, but also it limits the amount of overhead for kind of blockchain transactions. The Livesphere protocol itself is a set of smart contracts that's built and run on the Ethereum network. Right now it's running on layer 2 Ethereum for much more scalability. You can think of it as a kind of a global registry of orchestrators, and each orchestrator is providing capacity to the network. These global list of orchestrators register themselves on chain, and after that, anybody can go through a discovery protocol and understand where all those nodes are, what the latencies are from their node to these orchestrators' nodes, and start sending video to each one of these nodes. All of this is operated, kind of provided to be available by the Livesphere node software, which is completely open source, which means anyone can download a node and participate either as an orchestrator or as someone who uses the network. It assumes that any orchestrator can go offline at any point, which means a broadcaster who has video can send the video into the network, and if one of the orchestrators goes offline, they just switch over to another one. We've been running this network for about 3 to 4 years. We've been seeing pretty interesting results. There are about 100 node operators on the network right now, and each of these operator is an entity, and not just a physical node, right? It accounts for about 70,000 plus GPUs on the network that are actually transcoding video. And as you can see from the number, the supply way outstripped the demand of the network, right? And that is a really interesting characteristic. The network currently processes about 3 million minutes of video per week, and there's geo-presence in North and South America, Europe, and APAC region. So jumping ahead a little bit and talking about kind of Mist Server, and this is an acquisition that we made in 2021. Mist Server is a media server that's been in development for the past 12 years. It's a really interesting solution for us because we've been working with the Mist team for a while, and they have this really interesting technology that's low latency, has very smart load balancing, is lightweight and high performance, so people can run it in all kinds of different environments, from a tiny embedded device that's a set-top box all the way up to like powerful servers in a data center. It's open for developers, it's modularized, and it's a really cool toolkit for us to use to build out the Livesphere network. Looking at some of the interesting benefits here, it has a wide variety of inbound and outbound protocols, which means it's kind of a Swiss Army knife for anyone who wants to build any kind of custom bespoke video workflows, or if they want to use this tool, this open source tool, to complement their existing video workflows. So in the past 6 months, we've been working on kind of bringing these the Livesphere software and Mist server software together to create a new product, and we're really excited to be bringing this product to NAB today to announce that we created Livesphere Catalyst. Livesphere Catalyst is an open source and decentralized media server. What that allows you to do is to run a single instance of a media server, but also tap into this scalable transcoding network that's already globally distributed. So for instance, you can run a single instance of Mist server in a cloud instance and be able to simultaneously transcode hundreds of concurrent live streams all at the same time through a single instance in the cloud. It's a very modular toolkit for any video workflow. It's a mature technology. It's been in development for over 10 years. And finally, it also has an open source support model for companies that want to use this, but maybe prefer to have a better support system. Talking a little bit about the open source support model, this is a commercial model that focuses on services and support, and also for infrastructure usage. Right. So imagine you get the support for running the instances of the Livesphere Catalyst, figuring out how to integrate that into your own system, and also you can get infrastructure usage from the Livesphere network for video transcoding. We now have an accessible pricing model from $10 a month for hobbyists, all the way up to kind of the enterprise level, depending on the types of services people need. And the services can range from a self-service model all the way up to a managed infrastructure, kind of using the Livesphere team managing and running the entire infrastructure for you. We have some case studies that we want to share. The first one is a art streaming website. Think of it as like a art streaming version of Twitch. They stream about 84 million minutes of video a month, 75,000 broadcasts per month. And by switching over to this open infrastructure software, they're able to save 8 times the cost savings compared to their, for example, using kind of a cloud provider that you might have heard of today and building their stack on top of that. Right. Another interesting example is a company called CMIP Radius. They create this embedded device for signal acquisition. So they use the Livesphere Catalyst to kind of enable WebRTC-based signal acquisition and be able to kind of do a remote production setup. And this is actually a really powerful, really popular device that's used by some of the largest broadcast brands in the world. And finally, we've been working closely with a next generation ASIC video encoder, a company called Netint. They create this ASIC encoder that's super high density. It's able to do 160 1080p 60 streams in 1 RU, right? So for people who really care about density, it's really beneficial. It has native AV1 encoding, which means by operating that node, their node on the Livesphere network is able to do AV1 encoding at a really affordable rate. They're also creating this decentralized premium streaming platform that allows anyone to build a kind of a premium OTT service on top of this platform. And all of this can be done with kind of this hardware that's low power and that can be deployed at the edge for things like transcoding on the fly for CDNs and things like that. Shifting gears a little bit, so that was Livesphere Catalyst and what that enables people to do. Another thing that we've been focused on is to bring this new wave of technology into the existing video industry. And the way we do that is by creating a Web3 centric video streaming API service. So this might feel familiar to any other video streaming API service that allows you to do like a RTMP ingest, HLS playback, or allows you to upload a file and make it streamable on the internet. But the difference is that this API service is aimed towards these Web3 centric use cases. For example, exporting into decentralized storage solutions like IPFS, a really easy video NFT minting service for NFT marketplaces, doing token gating, so for allowing kind of access to live streams via NFTs or crypto tokens, and on top of that, also being able to do native crypto payments and monetization all within an application. So it bundles all of these features together that allows any video developer to quickly create a Web3 based video application. There's already been 100+ applications built in Q1 on this platform, and each of these applications is exploring some different angle of Web3 and how these video services may look different from today's video platforms like a YouTube or a Twitch. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share with you. We have a booth here, just a little bit that way. So it's at W10126. If you have any questions, please come and find us. We'd love to talk to you. If you want to check out the open source software that we have, you should definitely come and take a flyer. Come look at our website. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you very much for being here.